Hello, everybody, which is live here on YouTube right now. I hope. Let me just check my other screen. Like I was just explaining, Jacob, my guest here. I have spot
Hello.
the internet, but I do have three screens. So at least that. They might not work, but I have them. So okay, we're live.
Oh, I see.
That's cool to know.
You're one screen above me, above my game.
Do you can you share screen? What you're doing?
Right. Oh yeah, I for sure can. Let me see. Um,
Now, is this your first time on StreamYard?
I no. Actually, I've been few times, but
Okay.
uh, not very regularly, so
Okay.
should be fine.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I got something here.
Should
I'm
be
gonna
stream.
put it there. That's it. Beautiful.
Alrighty.
I can even make it full screen and take our
Nice.
avatars out. By the way, I am snacking and drinking. I mean, I don't
Of
know.
course.
Some people say it's annoying to hear someone live on YouTube, especially someone that is Zimbotted like we are, so without the faces on screen. They say it's annoying to hear people eating and drinking. I don't know, man.
Mhm.
What do you think? You think it's annoying to hear
Uh,
chewing and slurping?
might get that annoying. You
Might
don't
get too
definitely
much
want to smack into the microphone. I imagine.
too much
Though
in the
some,
ears, isn't it?
yeah. Though some people are into it. That's all the ASMR genre, right? About where all you do is smack into people's ears.
Yeah, if you're slurping really loud, isn't it? I mean, I'm gonna be polite. I'm gonna be like the guest you invite for tea and uses a napkin and chews with his mouth closed. But nonetheless, I'm gonna be chewing. So it's a heads
See,
up. It's a spoiler alert. Yeah,
those are the guests you want to come over. Again.
that's right. I mean, I know from your time and your channel, you had some some loud guests. Wasn't it right? There wasn't a guest there. There was a kind of a loud chef from Australia. I
Man,
remember
I had
that.
a whole slur of guests. It's gotten out of my hands more than one time. I'd say. I
Mhm.
quickly discovered not a really good personality to host a stream, as I am sort of reluctant to a conflict, perhaps.
Okay,
Uh, so I'm
but you're
basically
against the guest.
trying to cater to everyone. So hopefully I'm a good guest. I'm trying to be nice and polite.
Yeah,
That's
you're fine.
how it should be.
You're you're a symbol of politeness. let,
Very good
let me
then.
just tweet this out because
All right. Yeah. I'll be sure to retweet it as
let me
well.
tweet this out because it's Sunday. I know Sunday is not a big day for streams,
Yeah,
which
but
is good because we end up being one of the few channels probably doing it. But at the same time, probably there's not many people watching it. So
yeah, but man, I remember must have been like a year ago, right? Where you had me on.
yeah, I mean, it was really
Jeez.
bad because I mean YouTube canceled me out for 4 months, man. It was just
Oh really?
stupid.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
was just stupid and unfair. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was one of the streams you were on after you left. Me and Canales, eBay Canales, we just starting checking stuff online live. I made a mistake, obviously, but then they just got way too anal on top of me, and they ban you for 90 days. But it's never 90 days. It's 90 days in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I mean, if you're lucky, it can be exactly the 90 days, and then they just reinsert your they just reactivate your account straight after that. But if you're
Mm.
unlucky, it could last another month or so. I was like in the middle. They gave me like past past the 90 days, which is 3 months. I
Oh,
still hadn't been reactivated, but then suddenly after a week and a half, I gained back all the features. So okay, fair enough.
yeah.
So it was about
See,
100 days,
I had no
and
idea about that.
yeah, it demotivates you, because you're
Oh,
doing
for
these
sure, for
streams
sure.
weekly. You have like a
Yeah.
slew of guests. you're already kind of you're gaining you're gaining pace with your subscribers. You know, they're getting accustomed from you to come at certain times of the week, and then suddenly, bow, you're off the air. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
it's like, it's like you watch the streaming service or a major channel every day, and then suddenly, poof, they just go out. You know, what the
Mm.
hell do you do? You know, so it's
Oh,
very bad.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
So
Uh,
obviously, I lost track with some of my guests, and then I got busy. And right now, also, I got some limits on the internet. But let's see what you're doing, man. Let's have a look.
oh yeah. Oh, well, this
Let me.
is probably the worst part of doing a page. So I had my rough layouts, and now I'm sort of trying to figure it out. Put some more context on the page, and uh, then I'll probably ink it. So these are the rough pencils, I'd say.
Hmm. All right. So where are we at with this project? It's called Vestry, right? Last time
Right,
we
that's right.
spoke, you had done an entire book, issue 1, right? So how many
For
pages
sure.
was that?
So originally we had issue 1. It was 24 pages, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went back and redrew the whole thing, which definitely was interesting thing. And I happened to basically the project was quite interesting because we split it into, essentially, from or what was originally the issue 1. We sort of split it into two. Um, the one we called like issue 0, and that's free to read online. And just recently I finished issue 1, and that's actually now on Indiegogo. A few days ago we actually launched a campaign on it. Super happy with that. I also did some like Ashcans, and did a few. I think at one point I did like a this project for like artists for Corona, against Corona, not for Corona, but me and the writer who wrote Best Issue 1, we contributed a bit, 10 pages or so.
Wait a
So I've
second.
been around.
I got to stop you there. Against who? Against Corona?
Yeah, so the idea it was just that, since most of us are kind of broke, so we contributed our time, and we sort of made short stories, and those would be publicly available to read for
And
free.
what was the finality of that? What was it for?
It was so I believe the final project was called Corona Kings, and it was like uh, basically an anthology, you could call it. So multiple creators did multiple short stories,
Mm-hmm.
and me and my writer contributed ours, and swiftly moved on because we kind of knew we have to finish Vestry real quick, real soon. We were quite excited about that.
Who ran that anthology? Who was the curator behind that?
I think multiple people actually.
Is that a local project or was it an international
Not
project?
local. Yeah, that was in internet. I was kind of lured into it, but I kind of felt like it was appropriate at the time. We didn't know what the world was going to face, and you see, basically Jim Lee did his big shtick where he auctions pages, and it was the whole creators for comics, and I felt like uh, I'm
Really?
broke, so I didn't have any money, so I contributed with my time and skill, at least a bit, so
Where is that available for us to check?
Uh, I think you can just search it online, Corona Kings. It's on
Corona Kings.
website. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Oh,
pretty
let me
sure.
check that straight away, man.
Uh,
Corona. We're talking about Corona virus, right? Not the Corona
yeah,
beer, yeah?
yeah. So it's like a little. I can actually show you some pages. I think if you want. I have
Yeah.
it prepped. Yeah, yeah.
Co-
It might actually be
Corona
better
Kings?
if I talk over it. Yeah, yeah. Kings like the monarchy.
Yeah, Corona Kings. Jesus Christ, is a heavy metal band coming. I didn't know it was a heavy metal band.
Oh,
Profit song.
really?
Yeah,
Man,
Death
I have no
Proof,
idea about that.
Triton.
Okay.
Dude, Corona Kings. One of their songs, Triton. Another one, Death Proof. Profit song for Profit. Okay, well, let's see.
Look at it. They're already stealing.
Yeah,
Okay.
you better share it from
All
there
right.
because I cannot find it.
Nice. Can you see it? Should
Yeah,
be
this is your
right.
stuff.
This is my stuff. Yeah.
So this is
So,
an anthology, a single volume anthology,
oh,
or was it an
just like
internet thing?
internet thing. Essentially, it was no print run. Just make it for free so people could read it. And this was
Right,
a
I got you.
fun thing.
So yeah,
We
there's a
kind
particular
of
website then for this. Yeah?
should be, yeah. Uh, it's been a while and I didn't set it up, so
Corona
I
King Comics. So let me
unfortunately
put.
don't know the particulars. I'm sure all the people who
But
have
when
had
was this?
their
When
excuse me.
right? When was this? Was it was when? Was now in the beginning of the year, a few months ago,
Yeah,
or was it
would be a few
last
months.
year?
No. It was this year. It would be a few months ago. Uh,
So you supposed to do as it was what as a charitable kind of thing to gather funds for what for health
uh,
purposes? What was it for?
I think it was basically like a gesture. So like if people are lacking content, they could read some anthology online. I think that was
Ah, all right.
all it
So
was
it's
about.
like so he works as a showcase even for indie creators and all that. So
Probably as
is that
well.
where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't take it that way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I felt just kind of going through it, right, and trying to give people something to read, I guess. But I'm really
It
happy
could
with
be.
how it came out. But I had some fun because we were kind of thinking like, do we do color? Do we not do color? And it
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be like a horror story, and since all the teams with like Corona were there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my writer basically just said cultists, and I came up with these like masks. They are like the plague doctor, right? Mask,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of tie it in um, somehow, with the team, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna show you probably my favorite page from it. uh, they essentially end up summing up this like demon, right? Uh, and it's quite gruesome scene where I had this like I was definitely trying to do like a chest burster thing.
Right.
So you can see his like belly swell up, and then
All right.
it's
What the hell?
basically it starts to poke out. And I was quite limited with like, since I decided to do it black and white, so I played with the grayscale a lot, and I tried to, I think it came out really well, looking like it's in a sack essentially, and it's trying to burst out from that as well.
Yes. Right.
Uh, and then you have obviously the biggest explosion, and the monster is there, but
Oh
I
yeah.
ended,
The guy blows up, huh?
yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
blows up completely. Yeah.
Like, I guess the monster grew quite quickly. Uh, but I ended up being really impressed with myself on this
Impress yourself. Yeah.
this page especially.
You scared yourself. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I scare myself with my talent all the time. That's a lie. Don't
You
take me
couldn't sleep for a couple of
seriously
nights.
for that. Yeah.
So
Hopefully the
that's your
readers.
interpretation of the coronavirus, yeah?
Oh,
That's your
essentially,
visual interpretation of
loosely.
the actual corona, yeah?
Yeah. That's what
I,
was in the script. So I did as I was told.
I see. Man, listen, I cannot find it. The only thing I find
Right.
is something which I think is from Germany, Welthunger Hilfe, and it's
Okay.
a No Chance for Corona. Is a
Mhm.
comic, is a web comic, it's a single web comic,
Right.
and but it's not what it is.
Mhm.
It's on how to be to keep hygiene with a
Ah, I see.
comic
I see.
made by
Oh,
kids.
well, I
I
tell
can't
you
find
what.
it, man.
Once we end this stream, I'll DM the creator and look it up for you and try to send it to you if you want. Okay.
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's
Oh,
a pity you don't have the link at hand.
I
It's
can.
definitely worth checking
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's an interesting project, you know. I mean, Jim Lee was involved, yeah.
No, hell no.
No.
Well, we were sort of inspired by what Jim Lee did.
All right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was
Yeah.
all done by
Yeah.
indies, yeah.
Oh, just by indie guys. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Sorry.
nonetheless.
Ah, man, now I feel like I miss in misrepresented what we were doing, and like if anyone were to see it, they were like, "Ooh, Ghibli did a fucking
I'm, sh-
anthology
I'm
with
sure
you."
you. I'm sure you didn't make any mistake. I just
That is
misheard it.
that is
I heard.
unfortunately not the case, but maybe one day, who knows? I I have high hopes for my future,
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, when I
but
hear those two words put together, Jim Lee, my ears kind of block out to the rest. I go like, "Oh, Jim Lee, a biggest fan."
hey, same, absolutely. Yeah, but now I'm
um,
working on issue 2 of Westry, so
yeah. So, I mean,
I'm yeah.
I remember asking you something like a few months. I mean, when I noticed you were redoing, have you redone the whole book, or
Yeah,
did you use some of?
the
You
whole
actually
book
redone it,
was
yeah?
I redrew and recolored the whole thing. Yeah.
Mm. And I remember seeing it that you had someone else doing the writing. Is that right?
Yes. Uh,
So you weren't happy with your own story, or what happened there?
uh, Pretty much. uh, it came
I
out
mean,
to
what was it?
be. Sorry.
Was
Uh,
it a plot problem, or was it a plot problem, or
right. So originally, Vestry started as a way for me to learn how to draw sequentials, right? And I
Mhm.
wrote like a loose plot and had a writer come in and uh, he did the script, the first script, right? Which you probably saw me do, uh, which turned out not to be so great, but I thought like the plot was strong and uh,
Mm.
I wanted to continue, but I disliked my art. Quite frankly, I thought I wouldn't pay for it, so in my I couldn't morally justify it to put it out there for people to pay because I was thinking like, well, I wouldn't pay for it, so why would other people? I need to do better, right?
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Makes sense.
So then I started working on the issue 0. That was because I did promise the first issue to be free online way back, like years ago, but kept my word. And now we're finally out with issue 1, and that's something you can actually go out and get and read real soon. It's on Indigo right now. Uh,
Hmm.
So I don't know. Can I throw in the link in the chat maybe?
Yeah, go ahead, man. I mean,
Oh, oh yeah.
I'm gonna add that to the description of the video when we're done anyway. But yeah, I
Oh,
went on the
sweet.
campaign today,
Oh, really?
so
Nice, nice.
yeah, because that's the
How'd
first
you
time.
how'd you like the look of it?
Well, you know, I'm enjoying it. That the book is finally available for print. I'm
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
was trying to compare it with the little that I've seen on the campaign page. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time
Right,
to
right,
see
right.
everything. But I was
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
remember some of the other pages and some of the panels that are quite strong, man. I mean, I always said to you and the last time and all that, we went through your panels and
Yeah.
I like quite a lot of the stuff. I remember I compared to a few of the panels of Jim Starlin, stuff that he did in Starlin. Some of the stuff, some of the stylistic choices you had there,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dynamics of the shot and the choreography of the action, the action
Yeah,
shots, the wide action shots. I said you were onto something there. So,
yeah,
but
and hopefully I improved.
yeah, I
Well,
mean, this is
well,
actually the first time the book is available in print, right? Because the other time was
yes.
only available for free online. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And Zero is a whole different story. Zero is like setting up the world, and in issue one, you don't have to read issue zero to read issue one. Issue one is, the launch of it. That's the
Mhm.
official launch. Uh, and so you're thrust into the world.
Hey, since you're here now, do you want to share the campaign page on screen like that? We can go through it just quickly
Oh,
now,
hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
just a couple of minutes. Because now you got someone helping you with the actual campaign, isn't it? Someone that is based in the US. I mean, I could see
Yes,
there based in
we
the US.
were really actually lucky to be picked up. So my writer was connected well with a publisher. It's indie publisher, Gravestone Press, and they had like you know how would you say it? Okay, so unfortunately I'm stuck in Europe. Same with the
Yeah, of
writer.
course.
So since we were thinking, okay, so we have to find a way to not make the shipping terribly expensive.
Yeah.
So we teamed up with Greystone Press, which is located in US, and they can ship it out from US for a reasonable shipping price. Uh,
All right.
Assuming most of our actual readers will be from US, but um, obviously we have the I'm sorry, I'm mumbling here. We have the digital versions as well.
Yeah.
So those are definitely worth checking out if you're out of seas, overseas.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm showing the campaign. We can.
Yeah, so it's already up. Let me ask you something, because obviously that's
Mhm.
something that all of us here in Europe suffer. It's
Right.
something that we all want to do. We want to find a front man in the US that can
Yeah.
ship stuff out. Because right now, for example, we got this huge problem with mail being delayed because of the aftermath of Corona, right? The shutdown
Exactly.
and all
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm precisely now shipping stuff out. Some of my UK fellow indie creators have shipped stuff out already, and they're having serious problems, with stuff not arriving,
Right.
getting immensely delayed, and then backers complaining and like
Mm.
wanting replacements or refunds, and
Yeah.
obviously people, once you say you shipped out, people expect it within a certain amount of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, it's the things with the campaigns is that they end until the day you actually say, okay, guys, he's out. Delays happen, obviously, and people put up with
Yeah.
a lot of delays, like a year, 2 years, a decade. But once you say it's out, it's in the mail, then they expect it in 2 weeks, no matter what. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so it's obvious logistics, isn't it? So we're
Yeah.
getting right now into a big jam, and I've just shipped a few things, and I'm thinking of holding the rest back, because I don't have many backers. I did a very small campaign for Chromosome 96 issue 1 to 3. I'm supposed to have a music here when I say this, but I don't have a. So, but I shipped a few out just to see how it's going, and I'm just thinking on holding the rest, because until I get news that people are receiving them within a certain reasonable amount of time, because I cannot afford to print this again. You know, it was a very limited first run. Each book is really high premium quality, and you know, I offer them for next to nothing, basically, just to get the stuff going. And if now I have, you know, I have less than 100 people have backed the campaign, right? It's a really small print run. And if I'm having 50 of those saying I haven't received my book, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now? You know, if I had a campaign of, you know, 5 figures, you know, and printed out 500 copies, oh sure. I mean, I could afford to, you know, if push comes to shove. Because I'm a generous guy, I could afford even to have to send out 100 replacement copies, yeah. But on a campaign that you know is like 70 backers or whatever, you know, I cannot afford to send 30. You know, it's impossible. I don't have them anymore, and I don't have the funds for it. So I really don't know what to do. So finding someone in the US is always the holy grail, you know. But I gotta ask you. You are doing this, right? It's a color comic, yeah. Are you going to be printing here and sending there? Because if that is the case, before you answer, if that is the case, that would kind of offset the obviously the saving in costs of shipping from here to the US, because shipping a whole big crate of comics, let's say, how many backers you got right now? 44. Let's say you get to 150 backers, right? Or 200 backers, yeah? And you're offering, let's say, a trade of about 60 pages, yeah? That's going to be a big box. And it's going to have customs on top of it. So how do you deal with that? Did they have you printed there? And now is your answer.
Yeah. Well, luckily, we don't have to really take care of that, since the books are printed in the US as well, as shipped from there. So it's, you know, I'm creative type, and for me, it would be hell to sort of be dealing with all of that and having the stress of it all, and I just wanted to work on sequel. So now that the situation is sort of out of my hands, it worked out really wonderfully, because, you know, the dude who does it has experience with printing and shipping already. So I'm golden, dude. I'm just, you know, ready to create. And
yeah, it's great.
Don't have to waste essentially my time with shipping it, right?
Are these guys printing in the US though? They're printing there, or they're printing using Print Ninja or something that comes from China?
No, printing in the US.
Okay. Yeah. Because obviously, if they're printing overseas, then it would get into the same problems. You know, the stock actually has to come to the US.
Right.
That's great. I mean, and how I know we're live. And you might not be able to answer a few things, because obviously it might be private stuff. But again, this is great, because if you're shipping from the US, mail won't suffer the same delay as the international shipping. So basically, if you're shipping from Arizona to Vancouver or whatever, even though it's, you know, even though he's in Canada, he will still not suffer the same delay. So it's something that could be maximum delay would be 2 weeks or something. So it will not suffer like something potential 3 months standing in a bloody depot somewhere. Yeah. But now I got to ask you another thing. And again, you might not be able to answer, but what is the cover charge these guys take? Because they're distributing your comic. I guess they want the slice of the action, right? Or they're doing it as a Samaritan kind of thing.
Right.
Doing it completely for free.
Obviously, I wouldn't be comfortable with not paying them, even if that would be the case, right? It's I don't know if like I'm allowed to say or anything, because you know, they might want to do business with someone else, and there are negotiations. So
don't quote any percentages. Just
I don't
what?
tell you the exact figure for sure, but uh, we spoke, and it's gonna be a certain small percentage
Okay,
of the
that's it,
what do
man.
you
That's
call it?
what. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the earnings or whatever. I mean,
The
the
earnings,
weekly,
yes,
the
that's the word.
profit,
Sorry.
I would
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
yeah.
the profit
Because
for sure,
obviously
for sure.
they're running the Indiegogo campaign, so they take also
Yeah,
the
right,
cost
right, right.
of the Indiegogo commission and all that crap, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, well, it's great, man. You got to give them their number. You got to give me their number as well.
For sure, for sure.
um, I mean, the next project I'm working now is called When Gnomes Attack. When Gnomes Attack, that's the actual
Ah,
name.
I see. I see what you did there.
You've seen it already, yeah?
Is it when gnomes attack like
Yeah, the
dwarves? Yeah, yeah.
gnomes, yeah, gnomes attack.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see.
the
Nice,
G
nice.
is mute. I'm afraid.
Right,
So,
right. Is it a play on
and
words with venom, like
no,
venoms?
no, no, no,
No.
no. I wasn't
Ah,
thinking about that. No, it's just actually it
I
was
see.
the title was a bit of a pastiche on The Empire Strikes Back of all titles.
Ah,
And I
I
wanted
see.
a title that that kind of felt like it dropped down from a longer sentence, basically.
I
So
see. I see.
with a lot of motive and implied meaning.
Mm.
So as why the title is a bit out of the box, and it's going to be a black and white trade. So it's really going to be about 50 something pages.
Yeah.
We're not exactly sure yet, but no more than 60 pages anyway. If he gets that far, it might just be 40 something. Depends. I mean, I'm still writing script right now. We haven't even started doing any sequentials yet. By the way, we're doing live streamings of the characters, of actually designing the characters one by one every week here on a Friday, on every Friday around 8 o'clock British time, which is 9 o'clock. That's 9 p.m.
Nice.
Europe mainland. So for you, it would be
Yeah.
9 o'clock as well. And then for everybody in the US, that's I think East Coast is like I don't know, 3 Central Time is 3 p.m. I think in the afternoon. So anyway, for anyone watching, so you get once again the heads up. We will warn every Thursday just to guarantee that the stream is going ahead, and it's me and eBay, and we're both doing the comic live on, which is something that you've seen done many times before on YouTube, I'm sure. But in this particular instance, we actually welcome contributions from any viewers to actually come on chat and churn out ideas. So whatever people
Oh,
want, yeah, people can add
oh,
little bits and pieces to the design of the characters, and they can even come up with sequences and scenes. It doesn't mean we're going to accept all of them. I mean, if we have 100, if we're lucky one day to have 100 people chirping in ideas, we're not going to be able to squeeze every single one of those ideas and adapt them. But the best ones might have a chance to actually end up in the book and eventually get a little credit as well at the end of the book.
see,
And and
see,
this is
now I gotta ask you though.
yeah.
How do you deal with the legal stuff of the issue, right? So, let's say I came up with awesome character and you end up using it.
Yeah.
I might quite suddenly, come with a lawsuit like he used my character and didn't pay anything.
Oh, we're not gonna use any character randomly created by a viewer or a participant. Our characters are set in stone. The plot is set in stone. Well, we are allowing viewers to certainly be welcome to produce is you can add little tweaks. You can suggest any particular situation. Once that is grabbed by us and adapted into either a character, a particular design feature of a character, or an actual moment in a scene or a moment in the plot, just an add-on. It's just going to be a small feature basically of the whole. It's not going to actually change the principle of the plot or the characters in any way. And anyway, the once we actually accept something, it becomes like in those radio shows when you have a call out for someone to give an answer to a quiz, let's say,
Mhm.
and whoever wins that usually is okay. Well, now stay on the line as our assistant gets back to you and gets your details. It's some
All
sort of
right.
thing like that.
I
So basically,
I see.
whoever is live and suggests something, and we find it is such a genius idea that we certainly will incorporate it into the book, or at least it's got big chances of being incorporated to the book. We'll then privately speak to that person, ask her to send the details onto us, and every time we start to stream, I'll say it again, the disclaimer right in the beginning.
Right.
the
I
the 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 profit, the benefit of doing that is that you get your name in the credits of the book, not as in the copyright, in the credits, in the writing credits of the book. That's it. So basically, at
I
the end,
I
you gotta,
yeah.
like, sometimes people add a little page at the end when they do when they crowdfund comics or whatever. They
Mhm.
add a big list in the end of all the backers, right? We basically will add a list of whoever we grab an idea from, whoever contributed an idea, we accepted it. So really,
Mm. Good stuff. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not.
I see how it is.
And then again, I'll be quite surprised if Universal would come to me and say, "Hey, you know what? We want to make a movie out of that." I'll be quite surprised. And in that case, well, yeah, maybe I would have to pay out some royalties here and there. Maybe. Beyond that, I have
Uh,
no idea of the legal component of this. The way I do things is pretty Mickey Mouse, man. Everybody thinks like, ooh, we got this big structure going on. This guy knows exactly what he's in. Nah, nah, I don't know anything. Just it's all written on my knee, all this big enterprise, is a bloody mess. You
I see
seem to
what
be
you mean.
much more organized than I am.
Oh, please, absolutely no, no way.
Well, you got those guys to run the campaign. I wish someone could run my
That's
campaign.
dude. That's all on my rider. I'm just a bumbling buffoon who can put
I
a
see.
pen to the page.
Well, nonetheless, I mean,
Hey, at
I'll
least
leave
I
the
know how to connect with people, eh?
yeah, exactly. I'll leave the heads up here anyway. Gravestone Press Comics. So
Yeah.
these are guys that are accessible, yeah, and the indie creators can always probably
Yes.
give them a little call and see if they're interested in
hmm They're on
helping
Twitter
out.
as well as Gravestone Press.
I know them. I've
Uh,
seen them
yeah.
before. I just didn't know they were so I know it's a little small imprint, but if they're willing to take the burden and obviously take a little slice of the action, I mean, it's a way. Maybe it's a way for a lot of us European creators to get some stuff
Sure.
done there. I mean,
Honestly,
it's
it's something I believe that it's a necessity almost to actually have someone in the US who would help you out and ship.
yes. I mean, in
Um,
the long run, in the long run, it's very difficult to be shipping stuff. I mean, it's silly
yeah,
because it's 2020, right? I mean, it's like we're still thinking like stuff gets there in boats that take 8 months to
yeah.
get there. But as we can see, it is difficult. Things get lost. Then there is
See,
viruses.
see
Then
now
there
the
is
smart thing is right since we're in Europe, they can ship from US and we can potentially take care of shipping of Europe. So hopefully, the shipping cost goes down for the Europeans as well. Uh,
I mean,
that's
it's
not
also
something we spoke about, but maybe for like the trade, once we make the trade, that's
yeah.
that's something that will do. Uh, yeah, we'll see. That's all in the future, but the potential's there, and that's quite exciting to me at least.
I mean, the best thing is not just the shipping that avoiding delays and damages. The most important thing is we can actually shave off the shipping cost because right now I would like to send all my stuff registered delivery, right? It arrives there and you got to sign for it. So like that, he confirms that you received it. So it's okay for you, the creator, right? That you put it, you spend money on the print, you spend money on the postage and all that. And not only that, because usually that sort of service is quicker and is guaranteed that it's going to be handed in hand, right?
Mhm.
Um, So I would like to send everything register delivery, but I can't. It's way too expensive. It's way too expensive for me to ask from a backer to pay about $15 to $16 to
Yeah.
just to pay for posting. Because frankly, right now, my campaign, Chromosome 96, is coming out of pocket in most regards. I mean, really, the campaign was to fund the print run, and it did it exactly that. I afforded to print the comics, add some color prints as well. But everything else that is in the package, and there is more stuff there, is basically out of cost, and the shipping is literally out of pocket. So I mean, I'm paying for the shipping for people to have to have the for me to have the pleasure of getting the book into people's hands. Really, and just like an opening night kind of gift. And but it's not sustainable for me to
Oh
obviously,
no, that's
and
a
a small
bad
indie
place
guy.
to be stuck at. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Of course, it's impossible. I mean,
Exactly.
I can do it for one little campaign like this one. Maybe you can do it for a small campaign as well. Maybe you printed 50 copies, 100 copies, whatever. But then obviously, if you're lucky enough to start getting 200 people, you can't send
I
200 books
well,
out.
let me just say, I wouldn't do it for one. You know, that's the problem with me. I'm I'm just not willing to do it like that.
You're a tight bastard.
I am. That's I see that as a negative and a positive as well. I think
Well,
me being tight is good for the backers as well, just because they'll be taken care of.
you do what you can. I mean, if I was 20, if I was 20, 21, 22, I wouldn't be able to do this. Fortunately now, although I'm not swimming in money, far from it, but I'm at that point in life that I can afford to have a little bit of wiggle room just for one campaign. Obviously, he's really he's almost like a calling card. Just to say,
Okay.
here we go. This is my brand, because where I'm from, like you're still back home, but I'm right now. I'm streaming from London. I'm not from here originally, and the people in US, let alone the people in US, know me or my brand. So this comic I've just done that I'm shipping out now is made mostly for the US market. I mean, it's a comic in the US comic book format, and it's aimed at a US audience, and they don't know my brand. So this is like me party crashing, sorry, party crashing with a calling card and say, here we go, here's some freebies for you guys. Here's a free Wednesday comic book, and a free comic book day, and which is not free, but most of the stuff is at cheap price, just for them to get to know the brand, because the market is huge. I mean, we indie market alone. We're not talking about obviously competition with the mainstream, but the indie market is huge. You go online, and there's 50 guys every day pitching a comic book, and all of them have great artists, and all of them seem to have a good story, and at least it looks like a funky product, and you're competing against all these guys, right? So you gotta offer something to the audience, to the prospective audience. You gotta give them a little candy at least, so
That's the
that
thing.
was why I did it.
I'd like to think I offer personality.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, if you if you're harder at promoting, if you got a great presence on YouTube or whatever, some of these
That was 100% a joke. I think all I can offer is people will feel good when they beg, because I'll basically I'm pitied by my backers. They're like, yeah, have some shekels here, you, and enjoy yourself, right? I'm like,
I mean, it depends from creator to creator and from book to book. Like some guys will have a killer artist, or even before that, they'll just have a killer high concept. Yeah, that even doesn't matter if it's Tumblr art or whatever. The concept is such a killer concept that everybody's gonna flock to it. As long as they see it, everyone is gonna flock to it. Some other guys, maybe the concept is just average, but they got a killer artist. They just found their one or two artists out there, and they just managed to get that guy. He's an indie guy. He's not a major star, but he's a killer artist, right? So that's it. They fly with the book. Yeah. Other guys, shit artist, crap concept, but they got a great online presence. They got all these guys flocking to their channels, right? Yes, these guys great, he's so funny, and there you go, they sell it as well. And then there's guys like us, we're got a little bit of everything or not much of a lot. So we have,
How dare you, sir? How dare you? I'll have you know I have the utmost personality.
yeah, but we mainly us Europeans and all that, we suffer a disadvantage straight out of the gate. We're not based in the US. That means that we're actually, and this is not to denigrate any viewers from the US, but the US are looking at us as aliens, basically. So anything out of the US is a known faction to them. So any artist coming from Europe, any book coming from Europe, as a little bit is a bit of a risk, especially with the mailing situation, to actually get something from abroad. It's just, it's like that thing, you got, this is an urban myth, right? Which is I'm not really sure if this is something from classical history or whatever, but it's like you got or maybe psychology, I'm not sure, but you got like a margin of a river, yeah, and you got a small river, not something very big, not a delta of a huge river, yeah, not like a mile long or something, but you got like a small river, maybe, I don't know, 200 meters, yeah, 200 meters across, yeah, and then you got the other side of the river, the other margin, yeah, right. So you got those 200 meters, right? That is the width of the river, yeah. If that is all land, there is no river, yeah. You're here in this point, you're on this side of the margin, yeah, and I tell you, you got to get to that other side there. You got to do is walk 200 meters, yeah. What do? You walk to 200 meters, yeah. It's not a big deal. Unless you're 85 and on a crutch, you're gonna walk to 200 meters. There's a nice young lady there. Can you see her behind that tree? Oh yeah. She's 200 meters away. You want to walk there, and you're gonna go walk there, right? Now I put the river there in the middle, those 200 meters, and straight away you have an obstacle. And it's basic psychology, yeah. But this is adaptable to everything. You got the river there. There's the same amount of width, the same 200 meters, but you're not gonna cross it. Well, you might cross it, but you need a boat. And where are you going to get the boat? You get the canoe or swim or whatever. You probably swim it. You would probably swim it, but a lot of people are not. And that's the thing that happens with US backers. I mean, a European backer has no problem. You're going to order something from Japan. We're going to order some from the US. It's not a problem. We wait. But again, this is not a criticism to the US backers, but a US person, anything that is out of the US is just something the other side of their river, an unknown feature, something from where? From Czech Republic, from Poland? Where the fuck is that? Is that Australia? Is Iceland? Are they Scandinavians? Is it from a Spanish guy? What is that? So it's all very, very tricky, So it is good to give a little bit more. I mean, that's my point of view. Obviously, each person does the way they prefer, but that's why I'm actually taking a pocket. But again, going back to the shipping, I would prefer to send it as a signed delivery, but it's impossible because it will cost $16 to backers, and right now, this one that I'm sending now is still costs $10, and I practically offered it for free, basically. So. So he's great. He's great. You got these guys there.
What's sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you if you've seen a print proof from these guys. What's the quality of it?
Right. Not for our book, but the books that they printed like previously. So there were no complaints. There was nothing but good things about the quality of the print. So I have 100% trust in Greystone Press that they're gonna do right by me.
Cool. I'm gonna mention to eBay because our book is gonna be black and white, and we actually intend to be press, print press paper, so thin paper. So that'll be great. I'll be quite happy to get in touch with these guys. Hey, why don't you scroll up and down the campaign while you're on it? Just show us what you got there.
One thing I'm gonna mention for sure. That's just because I'm really really proud of it. Is our digital is cheaper than our physical, right? And I don't see this at many campaigns, but to me it was so important to actually make this. You know,
Wait a second. Say that again.
I'm saying our digital is cheaper than the physical, right? We just deducted the cost of printing. I felt as a European, that was something I was really passionate about. We have both the comic and the Ashcan just for $4.
Right.
So we're rivaling mainstream with these prices. When it comes to digital, of course.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, usually the digital is cheaper than the print, isn't it?
Well, no. I've unfortunately seen the trend that it's not on campaign.
Really? I didn't know that, man. That's new to me.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, it's not a curved ball at you, man. I mean, I hardly read digital comics, so I have no idea of the prices. I just thought it was just by default, it was cheaper.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not the case with everything. Some, sure, but not everything. I want to show our little trailer. I've been working on that for quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, obviously, printing requires a physical product, so obviously, it's going to cost more than. To produce is going to cost more than just send a file, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
I like this little trailer. I was looking at it. It looks a bit like stop motion. Reminds me of the Captain America old cartoon, with the ping pang.
Yeah. It was definitely done on the cheap, as some might say. So, I basically didn't draw any frames. It was just images I sort of moved about. But hey, it does the job, right?
Yeah, it's a little grassroots comic, so he's got the trailer that he should have. So basically, that story that you had in the other book, none of it is in this book. Is that right? Or some of it is.
Some of it, but yeah. You'll probably let's say like 10%, isn't it?
Right. Okay. And then the rest of the book is going to be issue 2. Yeah, the one that you had done before.
Yeah. We're definitely continuing
with the edits that you have now with your new writer, right? You have a new writer now guiding you through the process.
I'm a new writer, and been enjoying working with him quite a bit.
All right.
So this one is 24 pages. The second issue is 26. And so far I don't know the page count of issue 3, but the script is written for issue 3 already. So we've been definitely working our asses off for sure.
Oh, that's that shot. I recognize the shot here in the center of the page. That you transported from the other version, yeah. It was a pretty cool shot before. It was quite dynamic. I mean, I can remember how it is now, comparing to the previous one, but I recognize the shot.
Yeah. That basically is the whole page is redrawn. I used the old art as
a template, yeah.
As a template for just the panels, This one might be familiar as well. Changed quite a bit, and my art kind of developed over the time, and it was important to me that the whole book is in one style. So
Carry on. Yeah,
the-
I'm muting myself just so I let you go on. Okay, so don't
Oh, right,
don't
right,
be
right.
surprised
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
say
no.
anything. So. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
take us just take us through the perks because some people obviously if
let's go through the
they
breaks.
watch the stream they might be interested in backing it. Yeah.
If you are interested, first perk is just the digital book. You get a PDF of it. That's $3. Second, we have a little ash can. That's just black and white, few pages. That's basically also drawn by me, and it's based on our character from the main book, and we just put him up against a monster from like Czech folklore that's called Vodník. So really fun stuff. It's like a monster of the week type of deal. I'm quite proud of that one. Then you have the physical, and it's just $1 more for the digital. Then we have the physical book. That's $6. Then we have the physical with the physical ash can. That would be $9. That's so far the most popular,
Mm-hmm.
expectedly. And then you can get a sort of like the whole package, which is the book, the ash can, and original artwork from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
that perk,
four already claimed. That's good, man.
that perk is essentially just like a little charity, and because we were actually really trying our hardest to make the book as available as possible financially. So the people who actually like my art a lot and want to support us, they would pick this perk, and that cash would actually really help us in the future,
Mm-hmm.
because we're trying to get a better colorist than myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hey, it means faster. It means that the book gets to faster
Mm-hmm.
as well. It's nice.
Do you don't want to take credit from you, but how does this guy compares to the Witcher? Because it's got some sort of similar powers, isn't it? Or similar talents, let's say.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
both sword and sorcery here, isn't it?
It's sword and sorcery. I don't know. Not sure what you mean. How he compares? It's to me, it's different enough. I definitely, you could definitely see it in there. The inspiration is in there. I would say we took elements from D&D, Conan the Barbarian,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but that's the stuff I enjoy the most. That's the stuff I wanted to create, and to uh, my surprise, I got to work on it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy it worked out that way.
It reminds me of more of Kull, actually, the other character from
Right,
the
from
Conan
2018.
Pantheon.
Oh, right.
No, he's another character
Oh.
by the same creator of Conan.
Mhm.
Kull is he actually gets to be king faster than Conan. As these characters end up turning into kings because he always has to make the same story. Man, it's the same arc. Like they start off as nothing, rags to riches, basically. So, but Kull
That's
is
the fun stuff.
yeah, Kull actually. I think he created Kull before Conan actually, and Conan was like a purest version of Kull because Kull is a guy which is more, I think, he's more educated basically. So as your character kind of reminds me that more of that than Conan. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like to have the attitude of Conan though, but he looks a bit more distinguished than Conan because Conan really is a sack of meat, isn't it? It's just a guy that has just one purpose in life, isn't it? Like hack and slash, basically. So, I mean, this is described by the writer himself. It's just what he is. While Cully, yeah,
we like it, right?
yeah. Cull. But the point is, the Cull is a guy that aspires to more. Basically, it's like Cull completed college. Conan did not went to school at all. So that's the big difference between the two of them. But somehow he's still a philosopher. He's still a philosopher with steel. Conan is still.
Character would be like a college dropout in that case.
Hmm.
He's someone who would get drop out from college and then start welding on an oil rig, something like
Yeah.
that. Give
Okay.
up. on life. That's
Well,
that's our type of character.
oh, like Superman in the Zack Snyder version, yeah. He goes and works in an oil rig, yeah. I actually had,
Unfortunately, not as powerful, but
believe it or
character-wise,
not,
for sure.
I actually had to leave that movie before the end. I couldn't stand it anymore. I only
Damn.
left cinema rooms, I think once in every 10 years, I think. And that one was the last one I ever walked away. I did not watch Man of Steel until the end. I couldn't handle it anymore.
Oh damn, Man of Steel. Okay,
nothing
I
nothing terribly
like.
wrong. I just couldn't put up with it, you know.
I imagine you would say like Justice League. I would understand that, but
No, Justice League I
uh,
didn't even went to watch it, so
yeah,
I don't have any problems there. I watched it at home, and
right.
it's like,
You out
what
of
can
your
I
own.
say? I mean, you know what? It's actually more entertaining, which is
You
not saying
can't
much.
really. You can't say anything that hasn't been said already. In my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure.
On
I'm sure. I'm not even going to go there. I mean, I'm not a DC fanboy. I mean, I went to watch Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman with a DC fanboy, a major DC fanboy, and I just let him have his time because I've never been a DC guy. I mean, I liked DC when I was a kid, when Super Friends were on TV, for crying out loud. That was 1983 or 84 or whatever. No, sorry, Super Friends starting the 70s. I mean, then they became Super Powers in 83, so it's something else. But yeah, I mean, Super Friends, the TV version, which popularized for most kids that were not into comics at the time, popularized all the auxiliary characters. So you have the core team, right? You have the three, the Christ, the God, and the Virgin Mary, whatever. She's Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, basically. So you have the triumvirate, basically, and then you have all the rest of the guys, right? You have Aquaman, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Shazam, all those guys, yeah. And if you were not into the comics, you didn't know who those guys were. If you were just a kid in the street that just likes to play out in the street and hang about, and one day you're gonna pick up a comic, you only got to know those other characters in the 70s. If you're a kid in the late 70s, you only got to find out about those other characters through the Super Friends, the show, because the show introduced all those characters on TV. I think it was the first time those characters were animated on a TV show, on a cartoon, right? I don't think before that all those other characters had a chance. So what's the Hawkeye version in DC is the Green Arrow, right?
yes,
Right. So Green Arrow, all those guys, Aquaman and all that, they were complete unknowns for the normies, so to speak. Normies will only know Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and then maybe Shazam, maybe because he had been, since the 30s, maybe. But I mean, you knew a guy called Captain Marvel, but then obviously if Marvel came along and they probably got confused. So really, it was through the series, through the TV series. So,
yeah. I mean that's
so
how I into comics.
yeah, exactly. I
Um,
mean, that's a entry point for a lot of,
not super friends per se, but
yeah, super fan. I
a
mean,
little
that's
bit before my time. I got in by Justice League and Batman the animated series, and that was still made before I was born.
yeah, yeah,
Quite frankly,
yeah,
that just goes to show you how good the material is, right? Then, yeah,
yeah.
even
Of
even
course.
even when it's older, you can still get into it.
Yeah, but so I never been a DC fan. I mean, and I think I mentioned that before here in one of my streams. I'm not going to go into it now. But I've always been a fan of what Marvel did. I sympathize much more with that, with their structure. with their story structure, their character designs as well. I mean, it's the whole being more grounded in reality and all that. I
He
appreciate
does
that much
some
more.
good jokes with my writer because I'm more of the DC guy, and he's definitely
Yeah,
the
that's
Marvel
fine.
guy.
I perfectly understand that. I mean, the great thing about, I mean, the thing that I when I was a kid, I
Mhm.
started gravitating towards Marvel is that it's set in a real world, and I have no problem at all with something set in an island full of Amazons women. I don't have a problem with that at all. I just the concept of Metropolis and Gotham never really resonated with me. It just sounded too much of a cop out, basically, because Metropolis is New York, and we know Gotham is whatever is Detroit, something like that. We all know that. So but they had to do it because these stories were created in the 30s, and they wanted an antonym, to those cities. So I get it. But it just I don't know. It's just it never really clicked with me somehow. I much prefer Spider-Man over Brooklyn Bridge. I prefer that idea. To actually bring the character and just it's almost like putting a 2D character over a 3D photograph. Is joining two art forms. Photography and cartooning. Make like a photo comic book, right? Which is actually Marvel did that a couple of times. They've done an issue or two of Spider-Man, I think. For sure, one where it was actually a photo comic, was just photographs of New York, of the skyline, and then Spider-Man being drawn by, I don't know, who was the guy, Buscema, maybe Sal Buscema or Romita
Right.
Jr., something like that. They've done that once or twice, I think.
That seems
So
like
back in the
something that came out of laziness, and they sold it as a great idea.
yeah, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. Yeah, you're right. It's a gimmick. But I always had a soft spot for photo comics. Actually, I did one back in my days. They're great fun. They're great fun to do, and I think they're great fun to read. At least I enjoy them.
Mhm.
Um, Jesus Christ, there's like a French comic done like that, which is just like a drama. It's not no action whatsoever, just a drama of people arguing, and it's 100 pages of that shit.
Right.
And it's just photographs of these actors, frozen in poses, open
Nice.
hands, open mouths, open eyes, and it's just dialogue, 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 like a French comic is. It's hilarious. It's also an oldie, done at least 40 years.
There was a magazine back in the day here, aimed at young ladies, right? And they apparently had a comic book as well, and I was like, oh really? Well, let me see. It was exactly that. It was photos of people and just the bubbles, and it was like some type of romance, and it was ongoing, so you would get like 2 pages every week, ongoing of this like couple that would basically argue the whole time. And I was
Yes,
like, oh yeah, that's your comic book. Okay, I get it.
I think I've seen that. Maybe not that one, but I've seen that.
Oh,
It's like,
this one was definitely like a Czech
hmm,
specific, but it's interesting that uh, you know it's a trope done on
yeah,
done
it's
kind of.
very funny. I tell you, it's a very funny trope. It's like a soft core for girls. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I mean, I like the idea. It's funny. It's
Man.
pretty miserable to read it, but it's funny.
It's absolutely miserable to read, boy, oh boy. It's like one of those you can see it sometimes now, where they take photos of these like 3D virtual puppets, and that's the comic, and I'm like, oof,
Right?
that's way too cringy for me.
That I've never seen. That
Really?
one I've never
Okay.
seen.
Yeah.
3D of puppets? I haven't
So
seen that yet.
it's like, yeah, I'm calling it puppet, but it's like this human model, and it's so obviously like
Right.
fake. It's a computer generated
Oh
human.
yeah. That I've seen. Yeah, yeah.
So
Like
it's-
crappy,
yeah, yeah,
crappy graphics, basically. Just guys
right.
that just
And,
doing
and they
something.
just take a screenshot of that and add some comic book bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is laziness. Yeah, that's just really that's the bottom of the barrel. That's like
Oh,
doing something for 3 year olds or something.
I've actually heard like some writers, right, who couldn't afford artists at all.
Hmm.
This was their way to get out there, and
Yeah, I
I
guess
think that's
so.
a completely valid thing to do, because that's the thing. No one wants to freaking read your script, put it in a comic comic format, and then send it out.
Yeah, that is true. The problem is who's gonna have the. I mean, we're talking about potential publishers. Who's gonna have the patience to go through that horrible art. It's
Exactly. So, you need to do. That's the thing. Like, if you don't do your own comic and you wanna be part of the big two one day,
like,
start your own comic, because they're sure as hell not gonna notice you just drawing pinups for your Twitter. Unfortunately, as unfortunate as it is, there are so many talented people out there. You need to stand out, make your own audience, and then they'll contact you themselves.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way I always went about it is I didn't start it off by wanting to be a writer. I did scribbles, so I did doodles. So I always wanted into cartooning, and that's what I tried to exercise and somehow try to be reasonably adequate at doing it. And with that came the wanting and the necessity to tell a story.
Mhm.
Now, for the guys that are really just writers, somehow they see them. I don't understand how. I mean, I understand not just because I've never been one. I don't know what's the mindset behind it. But if you're just a writer, someone that wants to create just a narrative and then look for a way to, like you were saying, get it out there, get it exposed, and some eyes on it. The way I would do it. I mean, if you're very young, you do like I used to do. I used to go around and getting guys to join me in anthologies because that's what I used to do back in the days. So I started off just by doing little comics and then just getting a bunch of stories done. And it was me and some other guys, and each one of us did a story. We were both writers and artists, basically.
Yeah.
I was in my teens, right? So again, if you're a writer, you just go and see if there's a talent in your school, in your college or something. Maybe there's a talented guy there. I mean, there's always a guy that knows how to draw. In every school, at least one. So you just got to get that guy interested in your story. Most likely, he's going to tell he wants to do his own story. So, but some of them are quite happy to not have any ideas in their heads. So they'll just put their talent there, which is to do the lines. But if I'm a guy like, I don't know, in my late 20s, early 30s, or even later, and you kind of think, I always wanted to write a comic, or I always wanted to write a script, or I've been writing comics, or I've been writing script specs, of potential comics or potential scripts, whatever, right? Let's say really just comics. You really are a comic guy. You have a huge collection, and you'd be writing stories and creating characters and all that, and you don't know how to go about it. All I'm saying is that if you are in your late 20s, so more than 26, just save a bit of money and hire a decent artist, not a reasonable artist, a decent artist.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying only if you're 20 plus, meaning if you're a teen, if you're a very talented writer, I don't know, whatever, but you're only 18 and 20, what you gonna do? I mean, you're a bit stuck against the wall, isn't it? I mean, you're probably great with words, but you can't do a line to save your life. So at that age, you're kind of stuck, unless again you got the buddy that is a really good artist, right? I mean, doesn't need to be really good artist, but you got a buddy, a guy that can do it for you, and he's good, right? But after you start working later on in life, then I think then you have an opportunity. Just set aside a little bit of money, and you got a bit of a budget, and there you go. You risk it, a little investment, yeah. You don't spend a lot in it. Put 10 grand on the hands of an artist. You put like £1,000 or £2,000. You get 12 pages done or 20, and see how it goes. You can make an issue. Make one single issue. That's 20 pages, right? 22 pages. And like you said, and then you can pitch that to publishers. So all these guys, like the photorealistic horrible Muppets, with some word balloons on top. That's not the right way to go about it, isn't it? I mean, the right way to do it is if you think you're a serious writer and you really want to have a serious stab at it, just wait a little bit more. That's the advice I give to the new kids on the block, basically. Yo, wait, bro, wait. You're 26 now. Save money for a couple of years. If you're not married yet, you don't have kids yet, save it until you're 28. You're 28, you got a great script, you've been sharpening it up, you've been cleaning the edges, you think now you have a good spec script, and then go online and hire yourself a good artist, and there will be guys doing pages for, if you got a guy that doesn't have name yet and he's charging you $100 a page, you better make sure he's really good. He's got to be really good, because I'm not talking about guys which are really really good and even don't have much name and they can charge you 200 a page, but they're really 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 good. Anyone will not, even someone that doesn't know comics will see, wow, this is great, this looks great. So if you're willing to pay, then just be careful. Don't hire the guy that is willing to do it for 10, but don't give more than 100 a page, and you'll get a very good artist. Very good. I still see guys making huge mistakes, man, like paying paying £200 a page for these for artists which are okay, but they still leave a lot to be desired.
I don't know about them, man. I think $100 for, as you say, decent artist.
Good artist.
Well, okay, so I would consider myself decent, right?
Yeah.
I would I think I would go $100 if I really love the project, but usually I would probably want like 120. It would be my rate, and then might make me sound like an asshole, but I actually do spend the time, in there. Unfortunately.
Yeah, you spend the time. If that's your price tag, that's your price tag. But we're talking about real talk on market, flat market level. Yeah, 150. It's a page, pencil and inked. And again, and I won't even go into digital against traditional. Yeah,
I'm actually talking about. I'm doing the inks as well. I'm doing both.
Yeah,
120 for both.
Yeah.
Like,
but I'm
page, essentially.
If you have someone that wants to pay their rate for you, you take it. Yeah, but I'm talking about when you're offering yourself, then depends how much demand there is. Yeah, but I'm thinking traditionally here. Yeah, pen and paper. Yeah. And ink and pencils. £150, $150 a finished page. Well, that's it. That should be a page that should be able to compete with any title in the mainstream. That should be a page that should be able to hold its own against any title in the mainstream. When I say any title in the mainstream, it's not shitty titles, because mainstream has a lot of shitty titles. A good title,
Well,
the artist that charges £1,000 a page, well, that's obviously a guy at the top of his career, right? You're not going to be able to afford that. I'm not going to be able to afford that. So those guys are probably not even doing sequential pages anymore. They're just doing like big posters or something, or pinups.
That's right. If you say that 100-page should held up to big 2 book, right?
You mean $200 a page?
You said 100-page. You said $100 per page. That should rival.
No, 150. I'm meeting halfway through between 100 and 200. 150. It should be able to rival.
Yeah. So
not be better, just rival.
Again, for just pencils or inks as well.
Well, then we're talking. That will be a question of who the artist is, because some guys There's some guys I really would like to have their work. I mean, I would really like to hire some guys. I mean, it's just from this last stable of guys just came out in these last half a dozen years, and they're just putting their work out there. And not young guys anymore. They're guys in their late 30s and early 40s, But some guys that just somehow never had a chance in the mainstream, just fell under the radar. But they're superb guys. They're really, Jesus Christ, they're
Sure.
cracking those pages, man, like there's no tomorrow, yeah? And I really love to hire one of those guys. And if they're commanding $300 a page, so be it. But I think the market value will be 200 a page. Pencil and inks, 200 a page, yeah?
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about guys like, I'm sure you know that book, shit, man. I backed the book and I forget the name. It's the Shinobi Sasquatch.
Right. Yeah.
Rob Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Rob Willis is the artist there. It's a guy that has done these little.
That's bloody and amazing art. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like Dale New.
He's well deserving 200 for sure for pencils just.
Exactly. I'm not sure what he's going right. I mean, I never even spoke to this guy personally. Oh, well, I'd like to have him on this show maybe one day. Get him on a little interview. I'd like to find out what makes him tick. I don't know what he's charging, but I know his finished pieces. He's selling them for $1,000. A finished spread, a finished splash page, basically.
Right.
I'd love to buy it if I had the budget for it. But he's probably a $200 guy. I think. I guess I'm guessing. I'm guessing, and that's pretty reasonable for what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't be shocked if he said 300.
I wouldn't be shocked from now on. Now that he had all this exposure, if anybody goes to him again, this is the demand, then he can ask for what he wants. I think the deal he's got for this book with Cal Jameson, the writer and creator, and the project manager, I'm pretty sure he didn't make a deal for him 300 pages. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to. I mean, the book is doing well, but heck, the book deserves much more. To be honest, I mean, art alone, and I wasn't convinced with the colors they had chosen, but they managed to bend my arm. I actually like the color scheme very much. Actually, I came to like it. I came around to like it. I don't know if you've seen some finished pages, but he's looking very good, yeah. And yeah, I can't wait for that book. But heck, that guy, if you would have charged 300 a page for this one, even at the value that the campaign is at the moment, which again I think it should still do much better. Should be a 6-figure campaign, yeah. I'm sure that. I'm sure they wouldn't be able to complete the book at the value that it has now, because if you would be charging 300 a page, so I think it's charging less than that. This is why I suspect for that book he must have charged 200 a page maximum. But now the guy could probably command 300 a page. Yeah, I mean, but then again, if you make yourself too expensive, then you kind of cut yourself off the market, And again, I mean, the guy is good, but he's not known. So there's only going to be a certain amount of people that are going to hire him, mostly in the indie community. And obviously in the indie community, you might have a guy with a lot of money coming in to do a project, and be able to hire Rob Willis. But again, if he prices himself way out of that market, how the mainstream is. They didn't give him a chance before. They're not going to give him a chance now. So I came across 2 or 3 guys as well online as good as him. And again, we just working on a small indie project. And these are guys that pitch their work continuously to Marvel and DC, and they were never hired. And that's the mainstream. All these guys with amazing talent. I mean, yeah, I've seen this before. Yeah, I'll just hire that fat bitch that can throw a line. Yeah, that's the problem now. I mean, I don't even know how they're going to handle now with the reopening of the stores, with all the comic book shops closing in the US. What's your opinion on that?
Ooh. Hard to say, honestly. I'm not the guy who sees the numbers. I think, and I think old timers like you probably won't like to hear this, but I always bought my comic books as volume from like a bookshop. Uh, we don't have comic book stores over here. Uh, I
Yeah,
I've
that's
been I've been a trade guy all my life, and I think that's the future of it. To be fair, uh, Wednesday's Warriors, they're uh, they're great. I would freaking love to be one, right? I think just the conversations in the shop, etc. There would be worth it, but uh, it's sort of dying out, and graphic novels are taking over big time, and uh, I honestly see myself that being the future. When you look at the European market, it's mostly that, and there's a comic book culture in US that's holding it up. Uh, if you go, Sean Gordon Murphy actually talked about this very same topic, and I agreed with him on a lot of stuff he said. Uh, I think there's special place for the Wednesday Warrior, but I would definitely focus. If it was myself, I would focus on the graphic novels and the volumes that would be in there.
hmm
That's kind of my deal, and definitely make the distribution better. Uh,
mm.
I freaking would just love to get to the point where you can have a comic book section in any bookstore, because
Yeah,
bookstores don't really have that, or even your shops like Walmart and Targets. I really
yeah.
I like that.
I mean, the problem with the comic book shops is that is a sort of business that is very volatile, isn't it? I'm talking about the U.S. comic shops and with this quarantine situation, I think some of them are going to have a hard time getting back because I think these guys, these comic book shop owners, they very much rely on a week to week trade, isn't it? I mean, more than any other business. Like the hotels, for example, they suffered greatly now because they've been closed all this time for 3 months almost. But an hotel is an hotel, a restaurant is a restaurant, right? A barber shop is a barber shop. Everyone needs that. But a comic book, well, you can go without one, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, these guys are gonna get their clientele back. That's fine. They're gonna get books back in stock. That's all just dandy. But were they able to survive for these last 3 months? I'm not so sure. That's why I think this might have been the nail in the coffin. I mean, like you say, I mean, it's probably now is going to be just the more resilient shops staying open, and they're all going to be eventually carrying trades because obviously the market for the floppy issues is diminishing year by year. So, but yeah, I think actually a lot of these anti industry guys, in the indie circuit as well. They were saying, "Well, that's it. The industry is finished because these shops are not going to reopen." And I kind of probably forced to agree with that. I mean, right now we're just speculating. Obviously, they're going to
Honestly,
be. They're going to
I
be.
freaking hate that whenever one little small thing goes down. You have like dozens of guys beating on the drum like it's ending. Comic
Yeah.
books are over. I'm sick of it. First of all, comic books, the Great Depression, we survived it all. The medium is not dying. It might not be expanding,
Mhm.
but comic books are here to stay. And
I
quite
agree.
frankly, quite frankly, I've seen the numbers from Czech Republic, and the amount of readers actually is growing, and the amount of books sold is growing in Czech Republic, and it's all graphic novels.
That is good. Yeah,
So
graphic
I'm
novel.
I'm hopeful. That's my take on it.
Well, I'm sure for graphic novels there will always be a market because definitely sequential art is not going anywhere.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
again, don't forget the American market relies on the floppy issues. I mean, at least they still think they rely on it because, to be honest, they make more money with the trades, which is exactly the same thing, and production-wise doesn't cost much more. So in terms of cost, is offset practically the cost, and you get to a lot of troubles with floppy issues. The whole stapling thing, is a very antiquated, well, basically, it was a very cheap way of getting to collect newspaper strips and getting them out there, which was
It,
the
it
original
became not
intent.
so cheap, right?
Yeah, I
Correct.
mean, that was the whole original intention. Was the staple magazine was never. This is quite funny actually for the people that are not into printing history, but the staple magazine, from comics to the TV guide, was never something, or Reader's Digest, but actually Reader's Digest started making a spine on their magazine. They were very small, but they had more than 50 pages, so they started making a little spine. So, the staple magazine was never something that was supposed to be durable. It was never something that was supposed to last. It was made cheap for a cheap price, and it was supposed to be read and disposed of like a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Comic books only become a collector's item much later, like 20 years later, after the original staple magazines start churning out in the early 30s. So, so by the 50s, they're collector items, but it was never that. That was never the intention. So if one day they'll be finished, I mean, well, that's it. You just leave this life, more than probably what he should have lived, to be honest. Because I just printed 3 issues and I had serious problems in all of them. I had to request about 4 print proofs, which costs a lot of money because you're only asking for a single copy, right? And and until they nailed it, I mean, something that should have been simple, and it is simple. I mean, the files I provided were perfectly acceptable, more than so, and also went with a professional printer, which of big name, renown, and they shouldn't make any mistake. But somehow, it took time to get it right, and it was not even the colors or the saturation or the printing itself. It was really down to cutting and stapling, just the two final steps of the printing process, which again is been being done for 100 years, and you can still get mistakes. So it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky manufacturing process. It's simple, but it's tricky. So I like single copies. I like floppy copies for the collector point of view. I actually do not dislike them. But yeah, I always had obviously a soft spot as well for the graphic novel, for the trade paperback, because I think it's the closest thing, the purest thing to having a graphic novel, which is a novel but with graphics. it's an illustrated novel. So I think that is the correct way, I think, of
You
doing
know what I
comics.
love? I absolutely love the format of the DC 100-page giants. They do them like at Walmart and whatever, and you
Oh
can
yeah,
get
yeah,
them.
yeah.
I love the format. That's so perfect. The paper, it's like really light. It's kind of, I'm gonna say it's kind of cheap, but it's a good thing. It's exactly what I would want to read for sure. Uh,
Hmm.
and I kind of just hope to make something similar to that. That's like if someone asks me what I want to do with Vestry, I'm gonna show them that 100-page giant and say, "This I want this to be the format." So I definitely would go for that. But actually, I'm
Sounds
running
good.
out of time. To be fair, right now, so let's say just 5 minutes. Final questions, and
Well, I
I'll
don't
be.
think there's anyone in the chat, man. I'm afraid.
That's fine, man.
But
You've been killing
listen,
it now.
are you still working? Are you still working on that page? If you want to pop it back on the screen, that'll be
Right.
great.
No, I haven't done much, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
uh, but I'll show it for sure. Um, so this is issue 2 already, right? So
Yeah, let me put it back on. There you go.
I just simply sketched out some elven temple
All right.
type of pillars and little characters in the back. Nothing special, but gets the job done.
So now that you got someone doing the writing, I mean,
Mhm.
are you still plotting the story, or you left it all to the writer?
Um, I'm basically throwing ideas at him, and
Right.
I do still keep my veto power,
Uh huh.
but outside of that, it's him.
While you do that, I'm sketching myself. I always find these streams very helpful to start to get a guy going into sketching something. So I'm taking the opportunity to sketch a little cover I gotta do for my book. And so you have any conflicts, artistic conflicts with your writer? As far
Uh, oh, he's a bloody sweetheart. I tell him that.
Jesus
I
Christ,
think
man.
like Bart and
Bromance.
Homer, for sure. I think we have like Homer and Bart relationship where Bart loves. I mean Homer loves Bart, but he wants to strangle him sometimes,
Yes,
and I'm Homer in this in this relationship for
I
sure.
see. I see. Very good.
Okay, man. I tell you what. I'm really thankful for you inviting me on the stream. But it's getting quite late, and I'm waking up really early tomorrow, so I'm gonna go. I'll leave you to it, and have a fun night. Okay. See ya.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for coming, man. I'm also have a few
For
things
sure.
to do. I'll
Alrighty.
invite you back one of these days.
For sure. Let's do it, Holly. Okay. See you later. Bye
I'll
bye.
see you everybody later. Bye bye.